Byron Scott's show, and they basically said that the players today, they don't play for the love of the game. They play for the bag. Okay, so the overall statement was made in response to another statement that was made by Scottie Pippen, which Byron Scott and Odin Polyny both agreed to. Now, Scottie Pippen made a statement recently saying that you can't really make the NBA players play today. If you're the coach or whatever, you can't make them play. And they both agreed with it. They said that players don't really have the passion for the game. They don't really love the game anymore, and they just play for the money. An interesting part of the statement was also what you're going to hear in a second, when Odin Polyny said that players basically only play for money, and they have 82 games in their contract. They play 50 and still get paid for 82. That's like normal people would go to work a third of their year and still expect to get paid for the rest. I mean, you got vacation time, but you don't have vacation time of 4 months, if you know what I mean, because a third of 12 months is 4 months. So that's what the NBA players are doing right now. They don't have a season that lasts a full year, but they expect to play 50 games and then get paid for 82. So these comments are pretty interesting. I'm going to let them listen to them right now, and I'm going to respond a little bit during those comments as well. So take a listen, guys. So Scottie Pippen basically said you can't make players play nowadays. What's your guys' take on that? Scottie's right. Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. You can't make them play. Again, we go back to you play this game. Well, hopefully you play this game because you love to play. Yeah, you love competition. These guys, a lot of them, and I can't say everybody, OP, but a lot of these guys play for the bag. They want to get paid, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. It ain't nothing wrong with that. But as far as, we always kind of sit out to say, listen, there's 82 games of the season. We know we're not going to play all the preseason games and stuff like that, but you're going to play most of them. But you want to play 82 games. That was a goal every year, is to play 82 games. That's what you get paid for, right? So when Scottie said that the other day, I was like, yeah, he's telling the truth. He's right. You can't force them to play. Most of them don't want to play. And when they do play, they want to play because they're getting paid. They want their money. So as you heard directly from can have on the floor, absolutely. Teams are limited now. We used to do 2 days, 4 hours a day, 4 hours, 3 hours a day, 3 hours of full practice. Can't do that no more. You have it for like 2.5, whatever it is, and that's it. You better make it count. So get back to the 82 game thing, like Byron said. Yes, we all set out to play all 82 games. That was the goal. But also we knew if we set out for any extended period of time, there was a dude right behind your ass waiting to take your spot, ready to slap you upside your head and take your spot. Automatic. A couple things he said here. One is he literally makes a statement blaming LeBron James for giving that power to the players and changing the whole landscape. And that's why fans don't like it. Players are not emotionally connected with the fans. They're not emotionally connected with the team they play for. Is basically they're playing for a team while at the same time thinking, okay, what team can I go to next so I get more money out of it? That's pretty much it. Then they're talking about the rule changes and the negotiations that happen to change the approach to practice and how much players can practice now, and that the teams are limited and all that other stuff. And that basically also shows that there's so many other things that the players are focused on instead of the game, like their branding, their company, whatever they might be dealing with on the side to make money, whether it be advertisements or businesses or whatever. They negotiated limits to what they can practice and what the team can have them for. I think that was for that particular reason. They don't want to put the work into the game anymore like they used to because they're concentrated on so many different things on the sides. It's not that the NBA and basketball is not their main focus in life. It brings them the main bag, but it's just not about passion the way it used to be. It's gotten to the point where you can't turn it back. We're never really going to get back to that old approach. Odin Polyny says that if you set out too many games, it was almost an honor thing. Like if your coach saw you sit out when you really didn't need to, he basically looked at you like, all right, you don't want to play, I'll give another guy a chance. You're going to sit from now on, even if you want to play or not. That doesn't happen anymore. Everybody has their position now. They have their contract, and whoever it might be, they just sit out 5, 10 games for the dumbest reason. Sometimes they'll come back and automatically be a starter again. There's zero accountability, nothing. It's softer treatment. Like Charles Oakley said, it's like kindergarten today. They're treating these players like daycare because they have no accountability anymore. They sit out, come back, start, sit out. Everybody's playing 50 games and getting paid for 82. We had a thing called the love of the game clause. Michael Jordan put it in there. He could do whatever he wants because it's about the love of the game. There's no such thing anymore as the love of the game. It's the love of the bag. Listen, I don't work a job anymore. I was fortunate to build my own business, but when I was working a regular job, I would love to be working for 2/3 of the year and then be off for 4 months and still get paid for it. Like, who has that opportunity? The NBA players do. Guaranteed contracts. Even if they play 40, 50 games, they get paid in full. Almost nothing the teams can do. Look at some players right now taking advantage of that. Zion Williamson, for example, accused of not being professional enough, staying healthy, staying in shape, playing 40 games a season and getting paid for 82. Unfortunate. Sad for fans who remember the old NBA. Fans who don't remember it don't have the comparison. They think this is normal. It's not normal. It shows lack of accountability, lack of love for the game, lack of passion. A lot of players, like Draymond Green literally said that 70% of NBA players today don't care if they win or lose as long as they get paid. An NBA player said that. Current and past players. The NBA did that by removing veterans. There's no responsibility, no accountability, nobody to show the old way. They're just following LeBron James. He gave the example. Player empowerment is great, but it's destroying the product. Fans complain. You're not going to change that. Got yours, fans lost what they loved. Sooner or later, the league might suffer, or maybe it won't because the old fan base gets replaced by the new one that doesn't have that comparison. Scottie Pippen was right. You can't make players play today. They just want to get paid. If they get paid, whether they play or not play, doesn't matter to them. Simple as that. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. In a recent segment on the Byron Scott Show, the conversation took a sharp turn into the state of the modern NBA. Scott, alongside former NBA player Olden Polinis, laid out an argument that many traditional basketball fans have been quietly whispering for years. Today's players don't play for the love of the game. They play for the paycheck. The discussion was triggered by comments from Scottie Pippen, who stated simply, "You can't make players play nowadays." This assertion may sound obvious on the surface, but when unpacked, it reveals a much deeper shift in the culture of professional basketball over the last 2 decades. Byron Scott and Olden Polinis didn't mince words. They agreed with Pippen's assessment and elaborated on it in a way that highlights just how different the NBA has become compared to the old school era. Scott made a point to explain that while there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to get paid, it is, after all, a business. There's a disconnect between modern NBA players and the intrinsic motivation that once defined the league. In short, passion, drive, and accountability have been replaced by financial calculation and strategic rest. Polinis gave a concrete example that hits right at the heart of the argument. He noted that NBA players today often have guaranteed contracts for 82 games, yet they routinely play far fewer. 50 games, or even 40 in some cases, is enough to collect the full paycheck. In a normal job, this would be inconceivable. Imagine showing up to work for 1/3 of the year and expect full pay for the rest. Sure, vacation time exists, but it's not 4 months worth of full salary. Yet this is the reality in the modern NBA, and according to Scott and Polinis, it reflects a lack of love for the game itself. This is where the discussion shifts from just money to culture. When Scottie Pippen said that coaches can't make players play anymore, he was touching on something larger, the transformation of the player-coach dynamic and the power shift that has occurred in the league. Players have more control than ever over their schedules, their practice routines, and even how they manage their careers on and off the court. Much of this is traced back to the player empowerment era, which LeBron James helped usher in when he joined Miami in 2010. By taking control over his career and negotiating the ability to manage his own destiny, LeBron set a blueprint for the modern NBA player. Others followed suit, and suddenly, the league became as much about career management, branding, and personal priorities as it was about basketball itself. Scott and Polinis also emphasized that these changes have fundamentally altered accountability in the league. In the old days, if a player sat out unnecessarily, they risked losing their starting spot, facing public criticism, or having a coach actively push another player to take their place. Today, players can sit out for various reasons: injuries, minor ailments, personal priorities, or strategic rest. And when they return, they often resume their roles without consequence. The culture of accountability has eroded, and with it, a certain competitive edge that defined earlier NBA eras. Charles Oakley famously described this new approach as kindergarten, suggesting that players are being treated like children rather than professionals held to a standard of responsibility and dedication.
The discussion also touched on practice time and preparation. In the past, players often spent hours daily honing their skills, practicing and building chemistry with teammates. Today, the collective bargaining agreements and modern rules have restricted the amount of time teams can have players on the floor for structured practice. Scott noted that in his era, teams might practice 3 to 4 hours a day, sometimes even more. Today, practice is limited, and players are expected to perform without the rigorous preparation that used to be a hallmark of the league. The combination of limited practice, guaranteed contracts, and a focus on personal interests has created a league where many players approach the game with a fundamentally different mindset. Byron Scott argues that for many, the motivation is no longer the competition itself or the joy of playing basketball. It's the paycheck. He cites anecdotal evidence from current players who admit that they don't care whether they win or lose as long as they get paid. Draymond Green, among others, has pointed out that a large portion of the league falls into this category. Scott and Polanyi didn't just stop at diagnosis, they examined the broader consequences. This shift has impacted the connection between players and fans. In past eras, players were emotionally invested in their teams and their communities. They competed not just for themselves, but for the pride of the franchise and its supporters. Today, players are often thinking several moves ahead. Which team can I go to next to maximize my income? The focus is on personal gain, not communal success. Fans, according to Scott, have noticed and expressed dissatisfaction. They no longer feel the same emotional connection to players who treat games as transactional rather than passionate endeavors. The financial aspect of modern NBA contracts also plays a significant role. Guaranteed deals remove the pressure to play every game, which has become a strategic calculation for players who want to preserve their health and maximize longevity. Byron Scott pointed out that even players with questionable fitness or recurring injuries, like Zion Williamson, have benefited from this system, earning full contracts despite playing only a fraction of the season. While this protects players, it also fuels the perception that the league prioritizes money over the integrity of competition. Scott and Polanyi also traced this transformation back to the influence of the Players' Association. By negotiating protections around practice limits, training schedules, and rest periods, the union has shifted some of the traditional responsibilities from players to management and coaches. The result is a league where players have more control over their physical and professional lives, but arguably less engagement with the day-to-day grind that once defined elite athletes. This evolution has implications beyond individual player behavior. Scott and Polanyi argue that it has altered the competitive landscape of the NBA. The old system incentivized durability, consistency, and full-season commitment. Players who thrived were those who could endure the grind, compete night in and night out, and push themselves to the limits of their abilities. Today, a player can excel in select games, manage their minutes carefully, and still achieve career milestones without ever embracing the full challenge of an 82-game season. This, according to Scott, dilutes the meaning of performance metrics and the historical comparisons that fans and analysts hold dear.
One of the most provocative parts of the discussion centered on LeBron James' role in shaping this culture. Byron Scott suggested that LeBron's approach gave players unprecedented power, allowing them to prioritize personal objectives over team objectives, and in some ways, over the game itself. While player empowerment has undeniable benefits, freedom, autonomy, and agency, it has also, Scott contends, eroded the competitive rigor that made the league compelling for decades. Players now have the freedom to sit out, manage their workload, and pursue side ventures without immediate consequence, and fans notice. The discussion also highlighted the generational divide in NBA fandom. Older fans, who remember the grind of the old-school NBA, notice the difference acutely. They compare today's approach with the era when Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, and others played every game, every minute, with passion, intensity, and a palpable connection to their teams. For them, the modern NBA lacks the drama, accountability, and authenticity that once made it captivating. Newer fans, who grew up in the player empowerment era, may not even realize that the league has changed. They only know the system as it exists now. Scott and Polanyi didn't shy away from calling out specific behaviors. Players who strategically sit out games, prioritize branding over basketball, or manage their minutes carefully are, in their eyes, emblematic of a broader cultural shift. The implication is that while talent remains abundant, the ethos of the league has fundamentally changed. Players are no longer defined by their willingness to endure the grind. They are defined by their ability to maximize earnings and manage careers strategically. The conversation also explored the notion of love of the game. Scott argued that this concept, one central to professional sports, has been replaced with love of the bag. In other words, financial incentives now outweigh passion for competition. This cultural shift is evident in the way players approach games, negotiate contracts, and manage their careers. While no one is criticizing players for seeking financial security, they deserve it. The consequence is a league where historical comparisons become difficult and fan engagement is impacted. Byron Scott's assessment is sobering for those who remember the NBA before the player empowerment era. He suggests that while the game remains a spectacle, it has lost some of its emotional resonance, competitive authenticity, and accountability. The old system, while more grueling, rewarded players who were dedicated, durable, and passionate. Today, many players can achieve fame, fortune, and accolades without fully embracing those traditional values. The conversation concluded with a call for reflection. While fans cannot turn back the clock, understanding the evolution of the NBA provides context for what is seen on the court today. It also explains some of the frustration fans express regarding modern players, the pace of the game, and the perceived lack of engagement. In a sense, the conversation by Scott, Polinas, and Pippen is not just about money, it's about culture, values, and the way professional sports are structured in an era of player empowerment and guaranteed contracts. Ultimately, the discussion challenges fans to reconcile two truths. The NBA is more financially empowering and player-focused than ever, but it has also shifted away from the values that made it historically compelling. The old metrics of toughness, endurance, and accountability are less relevant, replaced by strategic management of careers, selective participation, and brand building. For those who grew up watching the league during the 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s, this is jarring. For new fans, it may feel normal. Byron Scott, Olden Polinas, and Scottie Pippen provide a lens through which to understand these changes, emphasizing that what may appear as minor adjustments, rest days, limited practices, contract guarantees, are actually indicative of a larger transformation. It's a league where money, autonomy, and brand management sometimes outweigh the simple love of basketball, and understanding this helps explain why modern players approach the game differently than their predecessors. In conclusion, while the NBA remains a global phenomenon and continues to produce thrilling moments, the conversation about money over passion serves as a reminder that sports are not just about results, they are about culture, accountability, and human connection. As the league continues to evolve, fans will continue to debate the impact of these changes, and analysts like Byron Scott and Scottie Pippen will remain crucial voices in examining what has been gained and what has been lost.